Hello student, today I am going to discuss part 8 of structural organization in animals. In this part we will discuss about the nervous tissues. The nervous tissues arise from the ectoderm of the embryo, so it is ectodermal in origin. The cells of nervous tissues are specialized for receiving stimuli and transmitting messages. तो ये nerve cells जो हैं ये they are specialized for detecting any stimuli. ये किसी भी stimulus को detect करते हैं और इस message को transmit करते हैं. The cells achieve this by changing the potential difference that normally exists across the plasma membrane and by propagating the potential change along wave-like manner along the membrane. So, function of nervous tissue is to receive the stimulus and transmit the message towards the brain, and they transmit the message by changing the potential difference of the plasma membrane. यहाँ पर polarization, depolarization और repolarization होता है. This polarization, depolarization moves like a wave along their membrane. So, the property of nerve cells there are two important properties, that they are excitability and conductivity. यहाँ पर दो प्रॉपर्टी हैं कि these nerve cells can be excited by receiving stimulus and they conduct the electrical signal generated because of this stimulus towards the brain. So they are ectodermal in origin. They are excited by stimulus, means they are depolarized when they receive some stimuli, and they conduct the impulse towards the brain. Next is nerve cell. A nerve cell or neuron consists of cell body and fine protoplasmic processes arising from it. First we will discuss about the cell body. Cell body of a neuron is called cyton, perikaryon or soma. So this whole structure is the cell body, and it is known as cyton, cell body, perikaryon or soma. It has abundant cytoplasm known as neuroplasm. इस सेल बॉडी या साइटोन के अंदर जो साइटोप्लाज्म होता है इसको न्यूरोप्लाज्म कहते हैं. इसके अंदर एक स्फेरिकल न्यूक्लियस और एक सिंगल न्यूक्लियस प्रेजेंट होता है. साइटोप्लाज्म कंटेन्स माइटोकॉन्ड्रिया, गोल्गी बॉडीज and some fine threads known as neurofibrils and some granules known as Nissls granule. Neurofibrils are actually made up of some neurotubules and neurofibers, and their function is to provide support. They form a cytoskeleton for this nerve cell. And Nissls granule, they are made up of some protein and RNA. They produce some enzymes which help in the production of neurotransmitters. So here in this figure you can see that there are neurofibrils and Nissls granule are present here. These dot-like structures are the Nissls granule, and there are some fibers are present here. These fibers are the neurofibrils. Next is the dendrites. There are several branches arise from these cyton or cell body. These branches which arise from the cyton or cell bodies are known as dendrites. So here you can see there are some branches which develop from this cyton. All these branches are known as dendrites. They conduct nerve impulse towards the cell body. The dendrites contain neurofibrils and Nissls granule. So these dendrites, they increase the surface area for receiving impulses, and they conduct the nerve impulse towards the axon. So nerve impulse is received by these branches, then they are transmitted to the cell body From the cell body or cyton, they are transmitted to the axon, and from axon towards the end of this nerve cell. So conduction is unidirectional in case of nerve cell. The movement of nerve impulse is from dendrites towards the cell body, and from cell body to the axon, and from axon towards the terminal arborizations. Next part is the axon. This part is the axon. This is a single, very long, cylindrical process of uniform diameter. It arises from the conical projection known as axon hillock of the cyton. So this part is known as axon hillock. This triangular part of the cell body is known as axon hillock, and from this axon hillock, this axon is developed. So this longest branch that arises from the cell body is the axon. Axons also contain neurofibrils and nacelles, but lack nacelles granule. Nacelles granule are not present here, but neurofibrils are present in the axon. The cell membrane of the axon is called axolemma, and the cytoplasm is known as axoplasm. The axon conducts the impulse away from the cell body. So in axon, the impulse is conducted from cell body towards the terminal arborization. Axon ends in the group of branches known as terminal arborization. Slight swelling called the synaptic knob occurs at the ends of the terminal arborization. So these branches at the end of these axon are called terminal arborization. These are the branches known as terminal arborization. And at the end of these branches, there are some knob-like structures. These knob-like structures are known as synaptic knob. And these branches which are present at the end of axon is known as terminal arborization. Next is the types of neuron. Sensory neuron. First is sensory neuron. These often occurs in sense organs and receive stimuli by their dendrites. They carry the impulse from the receptors towards the brain. So sensory neurons are those neurons, they carry the impulse from the receptors towards the brain. So these neurons are called sensory neuron. So these receptors, they detect the stimuli. The stimuli is perceived or received by these receptors. There is depolarization of nerve takes place, and this depolarization propagated towards the brain. So those nerve cells which carry the impulse from the receptor towards the brain are known as sensory nerves. Next one is the motor neuron. These neurons carry the impulse from the brain towards the effector organs. The effector organs may be muscles or glands. Second type is that from the brain the message is carried to the effector organs. Effectors. So these nerves are known as motor nerves. Motor nerves carry the impulse from the brain towards the effector. Here the effector can be either muscles or glands. Third one is connector neurons. These neurons occurs between the sensory and motor neuron in the brain and spinal cord. They are neither sensory or motor. So these are also known as mixed nerves. They function both as sensory and motor. Actually, these are the connector. They connect the nerves. For example, in a spinal cord, if these are the sensory nerves, they carry the impulse from the receptors. These are the nerves which carry the impulse from the brains towards the effector. These are the motor nerves. So there are some other nerves which connect these two, is known as connector neurons. So these are the three different types of neurons. Nerve fibers are of two types: modulated nerve fibers or non-modulated nerve fibers. First, we'll discuss about the modulated nerve fiber. A modulated nerve fiber consists of a central core, the axial cylinder, surrounded by two sheets: inner thick medullary sheet and outer thin neurolemma or sheet of Schwann. Suppose this is the axon which arises from the cell body. It is surrounded by two layers. This inner layer is the medullary sheet. It is not continuous. There is another layer which covers this medullary sheet, is the neurolemma. Neurolemma is the continuous sheet that covers the medullary sheet. So this central axis is known as the axon cylinder. And it is covered by this structure shown in red color, is the medullary sheet. And outside this medullary sheet is the neurolemma. Or sheet of Schwann. The function of this neurolemma or sheet of Schwann is to produce the myelin sheet. Myelin sheet or the medullary sheet is white. It appears white in color because it is made up of protein and fatty acids. Axon cylinder is the simply axon of the nerve cell. Its cytoplasm is called axoplasm and membrane termed as axolemma. Next is medullary sheet. A medullary sheet consists of a shiny fatty substance called myelin. The function of this sheet is that perform as insulating membrane and prevent the loss of energy of the nerve impulse during its transmission. Medullary sheet is absent in some places. This is known as nodes of Ranvier. We have discussed that the medullary sheath is not continuous. It is broken. This is medullary sheath. It is not continuous. So this space is known as nodes of Ranvier. It is covered by neurolemma or sheet of Schwann. Sheet of Schwann is a continuous layer. So neurolemma consists of tubular sheet cells, or it is also known as Schwann cells, placed end to end. Neurolemma is continuous over the nodes of Ranvier. The function of Schwann cell is to produce myelin sheet around the axis cylinder. So you can see here that this myelin sheet is discontinuous. There is a space present between two myelin sheets, and this space is known as nodes of Ranvier, but the neurolemma is continuous over the nodes of Ranvier, and the function of neurolemma or Schwann cells is to produce the myelin sheet around the axon cylinder. Some are non-modulated nerve fibers. In non-modulated nerve fibers consist of axis cylinder and closed by neurolemma only. There is no myelin sheet is present. So only if it is covered by only myelin sheet, the axon is covered by only myelin sheet, then such type of structures or axon or nerve cells are known as non-modulated nerve fibers.